Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn at Spiritual Connections, and welcome to our 2026 year ahead channeling and reading. This is one of my favorite channeling and readings of the year because we are looking at the full scope of our year ahead. We're doing our predictions, we're looking at the astrological transits, which I call cosmic support, and we are going to see what this new year has in store. Now, we're a little bit delayed. It is the beginning of February. I usually have this available sometime in January, but we spent most of January working on your personal reading. So thank you everyone to all of those who booked their personal 2026 year ahead. They were phenomenal. And I really hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did doing those readings for you. The feedback has been really great. So thank you to all of you who booked those personal readings. I also spent most of January sick. As you can probably hear, I still have some congestion. I can't hear myself. So we're gonna see how this works. We're gonna see how this goes. But I didn't want to delay this any further. It felt like it was time to really get this year ahead channeling out, especially because we are actually moving into the Chinese Lunar New Year. So the Chinese Lunar New Year doesn't actually start until February 17th. That's when we actually have the true new year. And so, as I've been saying to my personal clients for the personal year ahead readings, you still might feel some of that transition energy. You know, here in the United States, the Northern Hemisphere, we're still in the middle of winter. And so don't push yourself. You're still shedding some of the old. We are leaving behind the year of the snake in 2025. That means shedding all those old layers, doing that healing work, that grounding work, the inner work that you've been doing, shedding anything that no longer resonates, anything that no longer aligns as we're moving into 2026, which is the year of the horse. And not just the year of the horse, it's the year of the fire horse. And the fire horse is all about vitality, movement, motion. It's all about action. It's all about momentum. And so you might start to feel that momentum gathering as we get closer and closer to the Lunar New Year. But there's still some old that is shifting, that is being released, that we are clearing. And you know, the more that you are aligned with yourself and soul, the more you are able to move through this transition period with relative ease. And I want to say relative ease. You might experience some purging. For me, it was a very physical purge that also brought some stuff up to the surface. There's been a lot that has been occurring in my own personal life that has remnants of the old, but I'm finding that I am handling it differently. I am coping with it differently because I have new tools, new resources, and I'm a new version of myself. And many of you, as we've discovered in the personal readings, are experiencing something very similar. So, as we move into the year of the fire horse, there is going to be a lot of activity. It's no wonder that it's the year of the fire horse for me because Aries is going to be a very active energy, especially when we are considering the transits, the astrological transits. The big movers is what I'm hearing, the movers and the shakers in the astrological world. Now, I want to have a quick disclaimer. I am not an astrologer. I am an intuitive who connects to the astrology. I get my own personal readings every 3 or 6 months just to make sure that I'm in alignment with myself. And that's why I call astrology cosmic support, because when you are in alignment with yourself and your soul, you recognize that the astrology isn't dictating your life. It's not a driving force for your life. It is literally helping you to guide you into further alignment, deeper alignment with your soul. And I realized that when I had my first personal astrology reading many years ago, when I realized, oh my gosh, this is literally my life. And it was because I was in alignment with myself, with my soul, that the astrology was reflecting that. And so now when I look at the astrology, I'm looking at it from that lens, from that perspective. Where am I in alignment? And if I'm not in alignment, what adjustments need to be made? So look at that as cosmic support. We have a full playlist here of what I call cosmic support channelings. They are the astrological transits. And in those astrological transits, readings and channelings, we do these deeper dives. And so We've also been doing this with regards to our year ahead channelings. So I want to encourage you guys to check out the past years of year ahead channelings because they are building upon each other. What we were channeling back in 2023 and 2024 and even 2025 is continuing to make itself known now. What we were predicting back then is continue to compound and build upon itself, and we're seeing that manifest in the collective energy now. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to do two parts, and we're going to put both parts here in one video just for ease of use, but I will make sure that you have timestamps so that you can come back to this video, this recording throughout the year. First, we're going to do a channeling where we recap some of the astrological transits that we channeled here in 2025. We spent a lot of 2025 channeling for these astrological transits because, again, these are the movers and the shakers. These are the big deals. These are the shifts that we haven't seen for decades, and it is going to help to inform and guide us moving forward collectively. As we know, the world is kind of in a little bit of chaos. There's a lot of upheaval. We're experiencing a lot of tower moments. But as we know from tarot, from those tower moments, if you allow it, if you're attuned to it, if you use it as an opportunity, it creates breakthroughs, revelations. It changes your life and for the better. If you are attuned to it, if you allow for the opportunity for those tower moments to do so. And what we have experienced on our individual ascension journey, the greater global collective is now experiencing as well as a society. We are seeing this shift, but it's because we have already experienced this within our own individual ascension journeys that we're able to hold the space, hold the light. We're able to navigate this energy and thus be a guiding light for others, lead by example for others who might not have yet gone through their own spiritual awakenings or their ascension journeys. So we always say from the macro to the micro, and that's why I say whether you're watching our Sacred Union energy updates, our ascension energy updates, our deep dive sacred channelings, which I encourage you to truly watch for much more nuance and context. Whatever it is that you're watching here within my teachings, please look at it not just for your own individual experience, but also for what is playing out collectively, because your individual experience will inform the collective. It has a ripple effect. Everything has a ripple effect. And that is where your healing journey is so profound. That is what it's meant for. Your healing journey, we call it a healing journey because you are clearing all those old patterns and beliefs and the conditioning, the expectations, anything that is no longer serving you, that once served you, but is no longer serving you. You're clearing out all that old energy to remember more of who you are. That's what your ascension journey is in a nutshell. You're remembering who you are and you're embodying that energy. You're becoming more authentic and true to your soul. And thus, you're going to have a ripple effect. That energy shift is going to have a ripple effect not only on your individual life experience and what you are manifesting and creating in your individual experiences, your human experiences, your relationship dynamics, your romantic relationships and partnerships, your career, your mission, your service, your finances. We have a relationship with everything. And so, what you are experiencing individually is also going to impact the whole because energy influences other energy. And so as you're influencing and raising your vibration and shifting your frequency, that is going to have a ripple effect and a natural occurring influence on everything around you. It is not about control. It is not about manipulation. It's not about force. It's not about doing more. It's about being who you truly are. And who you truly are is love. Who you truly are is connected to yourself, to your soul, to God's source, to one with all. Who you truly are is that unity consciousness, that Christ Sophia consciousness. We're just remembering that. That is what our ascension journey is, where we created separation because we forgot who we truly are. We forgot our connection to each other. We forgot our connection to God's source. We forgot our connection to this planet. That's what our ascension journey is at its core. That's what the healing journey is. That's what the inner work is for. And that changes everything. All of the systems, all of the conditioning, all of the experiences that we have collectively, it is informed not by doing more or taking action, although action is important, but action doesn't mean anything if it doesn't come from a shift in energy and a shift in yourself first. It comes from the inside out, not the outside in. Change comes from the inside out. And so these next couple of years is going to see big changes, and we have a lot of cosmic support that is helping to guide us and help us navigate all of these shifts and these collective changes. But it all starts with you. It will always start with you. And again, the more that we are collectively claiming our sovereignty, claiming our autonomy, the more that we are empowering ourselves and embodying that authenticity, the more we're going to see a collective shift, both first within our individual lives, with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers and colleagues, with your relationship with money, with your relationship with love and relationships itself. Then that's going to have a ripple effect on the greater collective. That's just how it works. It is just the ripple effect. So, we're going to start with our collective year ahead channeling, recapping the transit readings that we did in 2025. That is even more pertinent and significant, that is even more connected here in 2026, and I'll share why in a minute. And then we're going to do our predictive reading all here in the same video. So make sure that you're checking out the timestamps, and also make sure that you are checking out the description box for the links of interest, where I have all of our referenced transit readings and cosmic support channelings there in the description box, linked there in the description box. Okay, so bear with me. Like I said, I can't even I'm so kind of congested that I can't quite even hear myself. It's a very strange sensation. But we are going to go forward, and I've spent the past month just channeling notes and recapping our previous transit channelings. We're going to start with Neptune in Aries. So, on January 26th of this year, 2026, Neptune moved into the sign of Aries. Now, it also had previously been in Aries, but it retrograded for a bit. And that's why these channelings are so important now. We channeled them back in 2025 when we were first experiencing that transit shift. But when these planets first move into their new signs, they don't stay there for very long. They retrograde for a chance to kind of clean up the energy, to reflect, to adjust, kind of like a final chance to clear up any energy, any residue that needs to be cleared up before it moves direct more permanently. So Neptune in Aries moved into Aries on March 30th of 2025, and then retrograded back into Pisces on October 22nd. So from October 22nd until January 26th, just last week, we were in that retrograde period of cleanup. And there might have been a lot of illusion coming up because Neptune is a very dreamy energy. It is a energy that can bring about great fantasy, and even illusions. And so you might have retrograded back into imagination, into fantasy, but there's also the breaking down of that. And that's what Neptune in Aries is all about. So, Neptune in Aries is going to be direct for the next 12 years, from January 26th until May 21st, 2038. So this is a long transit because Neptune is a pretty slow moving planet. It's going to stay here for the next 12 years. And again, you might have actually felt that shift. When we finally shifted into Aries, you might have felt more motivated. You might have seen some illusion crumble. Anything that you held on a pedestal as fantasy, you might have seen more of the reality of the situation, for better or for worse. And I want to highlight that it could be even for the better, that you could have seen, oh, this is where I was playing out the fantasy, but this is where I need to take action. And that's the core and the crux of Neptune and Aries, that it's not just fantasy anymore, it's about taking that decisive action. It's not enough to hold the vision. Now it's time to take that guided action, use that divine guidance that you're getting, and put it into motion. Put a plan into action, put that strategy into motion. Aries is all about action. And again, we have the year of the fire horse that is kind of ruling over all of this energy as well. The channeling that we did for this was titled You and the Holy Fire. And this was your spiritual warrior initiation. And it truly is initiation. So if you experience some of this energy when we first channeled it and were connecting with it and resonating with our channeling back in, I think it was, I forget when we first channeled this, back in March 2025, you might have been undergoing a period of initiation. And if you were, then this is the embodiment of that. However, for those who might be just now experiencing this, initiation doesn't have to be anything scary. It is just about really, again, connecting with self and soul. I feel like that's going to be the core and the crux of the energy for 2026, connecting with self and soul. The more you're connected with yourself, the more ease and fluidity you're going to move through these initiations. Initiations are not here to punish you. They are not here to wound you. They are not here to challenge you or even make you suffer or struggle. Initiations are here to show you more of yourself. And again, to clear out any of the illusion, to clear out any of the old version of who you thought you were in order to become everything you truly are. So now is the time. It's no longer about force and effort. It's about allowing for that surrender while also taking that guided action. This is not a passive energy. Aries is not a passive energy. It's not about sitting back and just saying, oh, it is what it is. It is about saying, where am I being guided? What divine guidance am I getting? What is that decisive action? What am I being guided to do? And how can I take decisive action to get to that next level of myself, of my life, of where I want to be, of who I want to become? This is all about movement. We're also seeing this collectively when it comes to propaganda and illusion, and we are especially seeing this now. This already began back in 2025, again, with the precursor of Neptune moving into Aries back in March for a time, just kind of like as a little preview, and then it moved back in retrograde for that cleanup energy. Now it is like the masks are coming down, the walls are crumbling, right? We see this in leaders and influences who are falling from their pedestals. Anything that is not authentic will come crashing down. And how soft the land is depends on, are you coming from integrity? Are you coming from authenticity? Or are you coming from that illusion? So there is a call for more authenticity, for that leadership by example. And I think it was last year's 2025 year ahead channeling, which was titled Leadership by Example. You're being called to follow those who motivate and inspire versus those who are just leading by the algorithm and by the metrics. It's that phrase, not all that glitters is gold. So, where we have these vanity metrics, for example, hundreds of thousands of followers indicate authority, doesn't it? Well, Neptune and Aries, or I'm sorry, Neptune and Pisces says yes, but that's all the illusion, right? That's the fantasy. That's the vanity of it all. Neptune and Aries says, let's actually check and make sure, is this person actually authentic? Is this person actually leading by example? Are they actually walking the walk and talking the talk? Are they embodying integrity? Are they embodying authenticity? Are they embodying the experience of that which they are talking about? So you could have somebody who has, 100 followers on their Instagram or on their YouTube page. The vanity metrics are not enough anymore. That's where authenticity is going to be more important. The embodiment, the integrity is going to be more important. So you can have somebody who has a smaller follower count, but they're just reminding me of, so did Jesus, so did Yeshua. Jesus, Yeshua, however you wish to call him. I call him Yeshua. I'm connected through the name of Yeshua. So did Yeshua, and that's the ripple effect too. So don't be dazzled, so to speak. Not all that glitters is gold. Don't be dazzled by the vanity metrics. Trust the message and the resonance. Use your discernment. Trust yourself. Use your discernment and trust the resonance of the truth of what it is that you're feeling. It's also this energy of standing apart from the crowd is what I'm getting. So even if the crowd is following, hundreds of thousands of people, can you trust in yourself enough? Can you trust in your discernment? Can you trust in your soul? Can you trust in your own message? This is for those of you who are maybe embarking on your own spiritual business, or who are speaking up in advocacy or activism, or who are sharing your gifts in some way. Trusting your message. Those of you who are beginning to step up as leaders in your own circles, in your own communities, however that looks to you, trust yourself. Don't feel bad about the vanity metrics. Don't feel bad about the algorithm. I know that for a long time, I myself was caught up in that, because I know that there's such value in the messages that we share, but it felt like they were getting lost in the noise. And there's a lot of distraction and a lot of noise in the online sphere right now. And that has been ever growing. And so it can feel like you get lost in the shuffle. But be that pillar. Be that pillar. Keep sharing your truth. Keep shining your light, because those who will resonate, those who are ready to hear it, will hear it. And it will be there for those who need it as they come across your path, as they journey along their own path. Be that pillar. This is especially a message for those who are stepping up as leaders, embodied leaders in your own circles and your own communities. For those who are, we're all teachers and students. For those who are, finding other mentors and teachers and coaches, trust your discernment as far as who is resonating. Don't look at, the vanity metrics. How many followers do they have? Because it's not all false, but a lot of that is the false paradigm. Look at the messages that they are sharing and the energy that they're embodying. That is truth. Trust your discernment. Trust what resonates with you. Not with the ego, but with your soul. Okay? So, are you following those who motivate and inspire? Because coercion and control, that's not working anymore. That's all the fantasy. That's all the illusion. That is crumbling down. Change comes from real action-oriented embodiment. Again, this is walking the walk, not just talking the talk. This is coming from real lived experience. This is our true initiation. This is our test of our self-mastery and our personal autonomy and sovereignty. Can you stand apart from the crowd? Can you trust your discernment versus what everybody is saying that you need to believe in? Can you trust yourself, whether you are, whether you are learning from somebody or whether you are the one teaching? Can you trust in yourself? That is the true initiation. And we are all leaders in some way. Leaders and followers, truth. We are all teachers and students in some way. So Neptune in Aries, it is a huge paradigm shift that, again, we are going to see continue. The arc of that transformation is going to continue over the next 12 years. We've already begun to see it in 2025 and some energy shifts prior to that. We're really beginning to see that now, and we will, of course, continue going forward. Next, we have Saturn in Aries. So again, Aries is a huge influence, especially here in 2026. Again, it's very action oriented, very forward movement oriented. So with Saturn in Aries, we did a channeling called Becoming the One, and there was some information there with regards to twin flames, sacred partners, and sacred union. So that link is in the description box. But we're going to talk more of on the collective level here. So Saturn entered Aries May 24th, 2025, which is when we did our Becoming the One channeling. It retrograded back into Pisces on September 1st, 2025, and it will go direct next week on February 13th. So this is a 2-year transit, so it's much quicker, thank goodness, because Saturn doesn't pull any punches. Saturn is the planet of karma. It is also a planet that is very structure oriented. Saturn, again, Saturn teaches us our lessons. If you've been through your Saturn return, you know it is a challenging transit, a personal transit, your Saturn return, because again, Saturn does not pull punches. It is wanting you to transcend, wanting you to transform, and it will make sure that you do. So, this transit, Saturn in Aries, will last from February 13th, 2026 until April 12th, 2028. Again, 2 years. This is a new cycle of transformation where you are rewiring and recalibrating for the next level of your embodiment. Again, this transit is an activation. It is very active oriented, action oriented, but it is also an inner activation to bring you to that next level. Saturn teaches us how to build on solid foundations. And with the planet, or I'm sorry, with the sign of Aries, it can be very bold. Aries can be bold. It can be very impulsive. It can be very reckless. Saturn tends to tame that energy. This transit can cause friction if you're not mindful, because again, with Aries being bold, impulsive, and somewhat reckless, if you're not mindful and aware of yourself, if you're not attuned to yourself, then you'll be acting out of your unconscious state. And Saturn wants you very grounded, wants you to be very connected to yourself while going through these activations, going through these initiations. Saturn is a powerful teacher that provides grounding and reality checks. Again, it is all for your growth. It is all for your soul's evolution. Saturn is not meant to punish you. It is here to challenge your belief systems. Is it actually aligned with your soul? Are those belief systems actually aligned with who you are and who you want to become? Saturn is going to ask you those questions and actually maybe even show you experiences that are challenging you and those beliefs. So, where we have Saturn in Aries paired with Neptune in Aries, again, the dreamy kind of fantasy energy of Neptune in Aries, this is about imagination plus practicality. So it's not just about being that dreamy, imaginative energy. It's also about making it logical. Is it practical? Is it rational? Is it reasonable? So that's where Saturn in Aries pairs with Neptune in Aries. Saturn, again, is that strict teacher. It's that grounded teacher. It is that structure, that foundation. Okay, you have this beautiful plan, but are you putting it into action? Does it have a solid foundation underneath you? Does it have a solid structure underneath you? And if it doesn't, Saturn's going to give you a reality check and say, okay, but it needs to. It needs to. This is all about intuition and logic, which, what is that? What do we teach here? This is about the feminine and the masculine. Balance is the key. It's bringing those polarities into harmony. So the feminine being that intuitive energy, the masculine being that logical energy, bringing it into balance. So Saturn in Aries paired with Neptune in Aries is going to bring about a profound consciousness shift of that need for mindfulness, that need for groundedness, especially spiritual mindfulness, grounded spirituality. We've seen a lot, and I have railed a lot about this in my channelings and over on my Substack, my blog, The Mystic and the Muse. I've written many essays about spiritual ego and performative spirituality. That season of the spiritual community, that season of spirituality is over. That's what Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries is kind of dismantling, that performative spirituality. It is all about the embodiment now. That illusion is long gone. That spiritual ego, that bypassing, that love and light and only love and light without decisive action, without that intuitive guided action, without embodying the experience or even having the experience, that is all being dismantled now. Because again, Saturn does not pull punches. Saturn is a very grounded energy that says you need to have a foundation underneath you. And your experiences, your lived experiences as a human, is that very foundation. That's what your self mastery is all about. Your ascension journey is not about transcending your human experience so that you're living just in the higher planes. You're embodying being human. You're bringing all that spiritual knowledge and wisdom down to being human. We did a channeling, a workshop called The Jewel in the Lotus with Kuan Yin. And Kuan Yin taught us the Bodhisattva. I might be mispronouncing that. But what that is, it's kind of bypassing nirvana to be the enlightened being in your spiritual form, to continue to serve as an example for others, to continue to help others and navigate their own paths, their own journeys. So that's what this energy is. It's all of us becoming that leader, not as a hierarchy, but as a interconnected fellowship is a phrase that they're giving me, an interconnected fellowship. So leadership is not about a hierarchy. Leadership is not about me over you. Leadership is not about a social structure. Leadership is a fellowship where we all teach and learn from each other. So I feel like this Saturn energy, we're going to see huge shifts, especially in the spiritual community, especially as people are going through their own spiritual awakenings. Spiritual awakening is not just, oh, I see the truth of the matrix. Oh, I see the truth of society. I see through the illusion of, what the history of, the world. Spirituality is something that's within. It's something that's embodied. It's something that is experienced within. It's something that is attained within. And that is then expressed in your physical human life. I am going to put an essay that I wrote in the links of description so that you guys can read it. Because I feel like it's an important one in case you missed it. So make sure that you're checking that out too. So Saturn in Aries, pulling no punches. Make sure that you're checking out the Becoming the One for more of those messages, those timeless messages. I don't want to say timeless because it is pertinent to now, but these were messages that we channeled back in 2025. Okay, moving forward, we have Uranus in Gemini. And with this transit, we channeled the recording called Template of Love. This transit began in July 7th of 2025, and then on November 7th of 2025, it retrograded back into Taurus. It will re-enter Gemini on April 25th, and it will last there for 6 years until 2032. So this transit, we got a sneak peek in July of this past year, and then it retrograded in November, and you might have felt that shift as well. Again, the retrogrades are the cleanup times, cleaning up your energy, clearing any old beliefs, any versions of yourself, shedding that skin, shedding the old version, shedding anything that might have aligned once. I always say be compassionate to that past version of yourself because you were aligned to that once. You were creating from that version once. The life that you're living now was manifested from a past version of yourself. So be very kind and compassionate to yourself. Give yourself that grace. But the point of your ascension journey is your awareness. And the more conscious and aware you are, the more present you become, the more you're aware that, oh, I'm creating from this present moment. I don't have to be caught in old cycles anymore. I don't have to be constricted to who I was. I get to choose what I want to believe. I get to choose who I am. And who I am doesn't have to be connected to who I was anymore. So you're creating new you, new life. As long as you are fully connected to yourself and soul and not the ego, as long as you are listening to yourself and soul over the ego. We need our ego. Our ego is how we identify with the world, with our physical human experiences. But the ego takes a back seat now to the soul. Your soul is where your authenticity lives. Not the overthinking, not the survival mechanisms and defense patterns. That's the patterns and the belief systems that we're breaking free from. The generational curses I'm hearing that we're breaking free from. This is all about connecting now to your soul, and that is your truest sense of self. That's your authentic self. So you might have felt that shift, and that is going to be continuing to clean up until April of this year, April 25th of this year. And again, that's going to last until 2032. So this is a 6-year cycle. Now, what is this going to bring? This is one of the biggest transits yet, and so I want to go into depth with this. This is bringing huge leaps, quantum leaps, and big breakthroughs. These might be the tower moments. Because Uranus is expect the unexpected. in all areas. You're going to see this collectively on the grander scale in our society, in our cultures. We are going to see that in our individual lives as well. And again, you might already be seeing that because we already got a sneak peek back in July. One thing to understand is that while it might feel sudden and unexpected, again, expect the unexpected, what this is actually a building momentum. It's something that's already being created. The energy is already being created. If you have resonated with our channelings in the past and our teachings in the past, you know that I always say there's always an undercurrent of energy. It's not, our spiritual journey is not about taking life at face value. For example, if we have an experience, what's the undercurrent of that energy? What is it trying to show you? What is the opportunity here for you to grow, to learn, to evolve with? What's the pattern that you're breaking? What's the trigger showing you about yourself? There's always an undercurrent of energy that the more that you are attuned to yourself, the more you're attuned to the undercurrent of energy that flows through our world, that flows through our collective energy. So when we might have physical experiences, what's the energy underneath that experience? What's the undercurrent there? There is always an energetic undercurrent. And when you open up to your psychic gifts, that's what you're tuning into. For example, when I do my readings, my collective readings or my personal readings, what I'm doing, there might be something happening on the physical plane, but I'm actually focused on what's the undercurrent of energy, which is why I channel a little bit differently. I do my readings a little bit differently. As you know, my readings are about you. What's reflective to you? What is it showing you? So this might be an experience that you're having in relationships, your finances, or your career, or your family. But what's the undercurrent of what's really happening? What is this really showing you about yourself and about your journey, about your soul path? That's what Uranus and Gemini is going to kind of open up for us, both individually but also collectively. Again, it is the building momentum. It might look unexpected, but it is a momentum that has been building. Again, 2026 is the year of the fire horse. It's a very active energy. Again, they were giving me the energy of, or the word vitality. They were giving me the word movement, momentum. This momentum that is going to continue to pick up over the next 6 years. So collectively, what we might feel is a little bit of a pressure cooker because we're feeling the anticipation build. We're feeling this shift collectively. We're feeling the momentum of this energy. But what that energy is building to, that momentum is building to, is a collective transformation. That's where we're seeing old systems crumble, old modalities fall apart. What was once working doesn't work anymore. Again, micro to macro, macro to micro. What you see in your individual life is also playing out on a collective scale. So, what doesn't work for you anymore as an individual, might have worked for a past version of you, doesn't work for you anymore. Who do you want to become? Same goes for the collective. What worked for us as a society, or what worked for the few in society, perhaps, is more accurate, isn't working anymore. Because as we are growing and evolving, we're recognizing unity consciousness. We're recognizing that separation is an illusion. We're recognizing where we were divided, or where we were playing out that division. But again, separation is an illusion. We're truly interconnected. And so where we were kind of playing out that illusion, playing out that separation, now we're moving into that higher connected consciousness of unity, oneness. So where we are experiencing that shift inwardly by releasing any of that old outdated beliefs, outdated programming, conditioning, what we were told to believe, etc., by gaining more sovereignty, gaining more authority, connecting more with our inner autonomy and self mastery, the more we're seeing that play out in the collective with, again, old patterns crumbling, society structures, reforming. It is not to punish yourselves for where you were or where we are as a society, but to recognize that this change comes from the changes that we're making within ourselves. Okay. I lost that thread. Okay, so Uranus. The reason why this is such a big deal is Uranus was last in Gemini in the 1940s. So this was a huge cycle that it went through to be here now, to be back in Gemini or coming back into Gemini. So when Uranus was last in Gemini in the 1940s, we saw new technology, we saw new innovations, we saw new modes and feats of communication, we saw changes in how ideas are shared. This was the tail end of World War II. So there was, again, an influx in technology and communication. They keep bringing me to the television, for example. Television opened up a new way for us to communicate, to get the news. Also, propaganda, and that's that Neptune in Aries energy that's also cycling through. And we're going to get to that in a second. So, Neptune in Aries is all about illusion and propaganda. And so, or Neptune in Pisces was all about illusion and propaganda. So, as we're clearing that energy out, as Neptune's moving into Aries, all that glitters is not gold anymore, right? That illusion is faltering. Propaganda is no longer working. So, you also saw that shift in music. You saw the advent of rock and roll, for example. So, this is a huge transit that we're going to be experiencing, beginning with Uranus and Gemini. This is the start of a big transformation. Again, Uranus and Gemini is only going to be here for 6 years, but through those 6 years, we're going to see a lot of innovation and a lot of changes in how we communicate, how we interact with each other, in new technology, in new innovations. Uranus breaks boundaries. It shows us what's possible when we release control, conformity, and comfort. And I was guided to ask, how is this showing up in your life? In your life, in your individual life. Because as it's showing up in your individual life, again, it's going to reflect as a collective, as a whole, the global collective, the greater collective, as a society. So, where there was control, where you might have tried controlling things in your own life, where are you being asked to surrender? Now, surrender does not mean submission. Does not mean submission. Surrender means not taking a passive stance, but being guided. Divine guidance. Again, trusting yourself and soul. Releasing conformity. Again, not going where the masses are, but using your discernment and trusting yourself. And even comfort. And that's where things might get uncomfortable. For those of us who have been through the thick of our ascension journey, man, you know what this journey was. This was the trial of our lives, truly, our ascension. And coming out the other side of it, you have a new baseline for peace. You have a new baseline for your sense of self, a new baseline for what you will tolerate and what you won't. New baselines for boundaries and standards. New baseline for what you value, especially when you value yourself. This is a huge transformation that you've undergone within yourself, but it comes from experience. It comes from having faced yourself. It comes through the fires of your own initiation. You have been through the crucible of your own becoming. You have been looking at yourself, taking responsibility for yourself, taking accountability for yourself. That is the crux of your ascension, the crux and hallmark of all change. When you're able to truly look at yourself, face yourself, again, for better and for worse. Look at your flaws, look at the mistakes you've made or the missteps. Nothing's truly a mistake. Remember that nothing's truly a mistake, not to the soul. Because are you learning from it? If you're not learning from it, if you're repeating patterns, you're going to continue in a consciousness loop and just get yourself trapped. And thus you'll be repeating the same cycles and the same experiences. It just might look a little different. For example, if you're in a consciousness loop, if you haven't learned from an experience, if you're not taking accountability, if you're not taking self-responsibility for what you yourself are creating by the beliefs that you hold, by the energy that you're experiencing or that you are embodying, by the the identity that you are. And when I say identity, I mean how you think about yourself from a soul standpoint. Then you're going to keep repeating those same experiences. For example, if this is a relationship, it might move on to a different relationship, but you'll be repeating the same cycles with another person. Or for example, you might be experiencing the same thing, but at a different level or in a different way. But it's the same because you're meant to learn, evolve, and grow from your experiences. Your experiences are opportunities for you to continue to evolve and grow. And that is the truly the purpose of Uranus in Gemini is, from an individual standpoint, are you allowing for things to shift? Are you allowing for the shakeup? Are you allowing to step out of your own comfort zone, which is the ego? The ego likes comfort, it's a survival mechanism. The ego likes what it knows. That's what kept you safe. That's what kept you in survival mode, right? But the more you anchor into yourself and soul, the more you're connected to yourself, the more you are recognizing, hey, I'm surrendering to my soul now. I'm going to listen to what my intuition is telling me, where my soul is guiding me. That's my surrender. I'm going to have faith in where I'm guided. I have so many stories that I could share. The easiest one I'm going to share is a quick anecdote to kind of determine this because this just happened yesterday. I had an experience yesterday that with the chronic illness that I have, Lyme disease, kind of popped up its head again. And I decided that, you know what, I don't want to experience that challenge anymore. So I'm just going to connect with my heart. I'm going to connect with my soul. I'm going to connect with God. And I'm going to recognize that I have the tools and resources now to allow myself not to be in the comfort zone of fear and the comfort zone of survival and not be in the trying to control this situation. I'm going to surrender and say, God, I'm going to do the best of my ability to navigate the situation. And please just guide me. This is where I surrender. I'm going to trust where I'm guided to go. I'm going to take that decisive action and do what needs to be done. But I'm also going to surrender and leave it up to you. Do everything that I can that's in my power, but also know that not everything is in my power. And so, with that surrender, actually, yesterday, I was very nervous for this experience. I had to go see a new doctor. And I have a lot of trauma around doctors because of what I experienced in the past, being judged, being misunderstood, um, with what is truly an invisible condition. But with this experience, again, with that surrender, I just left it up to God. And the doctor that I had ended up having had Lyme disease himself. And so he understood. I didn't have to fear being judged. I didn't have to fear being misunderstood. I didn't have to fear trying to explain myself and what my everyday life is like. I was able to connect with this person who understood based on their own lived experience. They understood. And so, whatever comes from the situation now, I can just know that I did my best and I had this blessing come in. I had this miracle, truly, is what it was, come in because I allowed myself to not try to control the outcome, but I allowed myself to surrender. Not being passive, taking action, going to that appointment was taking action. I wasn't being passive, I wasn't ignoring what needed to be done, but I allowed myself to release the control of the outcome. That is you working in tandem with the universe. That is you co creating with the universe. So, releasing control, stepping out of your own comfort zone where you are stepping out of survival mode, stepping out of control, letting yourself just be. The comfort zone, the ego likes that comfort zone of knowing what it knows. And it can be very scary sometimes to take leaps of faith. You can even apply this to love. It can be very scary sometimes to take leaps of faith and just surrender your control and just say, you know what, I'm just going to open up to love and see what happens. That's a testament to you. The fact that you are loving, regardless of what happens with the other person, that's a testament to how far you have come along your journey, and you should be so proud of that. This is you opening up to your soul and where you're being guided. And just know that you are co-creating with the universe in that respect. So, how is this showing up in your life? If you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it in the comments as well. So, this is not only impacting us on an individual level, but again, on a global level, on a global landscape. And this includes the political landscape with changes politically And we're especially seeing this in the United States. I know that those in Australia are experiencing this, the United Kingdom, um, Canada. Those I have kind of an awareness and a pulse on what's going in current events in those countries as well. But this is happening collectively, basically everywhere. This is the house of cards that are falling. So, what we had predicted in last year's and even the year before's year ahead channeling, as well as with Gemini or Uranus and Gemini, is again house of cards falling. Big companies will fall. Big companies will find themselves suffering, and what I'm hearing is bleeding into the red. So, all those profits that they were hoarding and collecting, that is going to begin shifting, especially over these next couple of years. We're already beginning to see that and had been beginning to see that. I had actually channeled and predicted the boycotts 2 years ago and began to see that with notably some boycotting of bigger companies. There's going to be a return to small business, family owned business. And even though there might be some pushback politically for that, I feel like the masses are really going to be stepping up, speaking up, and um, using their money as a form of activism. Where are you putting your money? And again, this is leadership by example. So, supporting small businesses and family owned businesses is going to be really important, especially where there have been private equity. Um, this is mostly, I'm resonating with this because of the vets. I have shifted taking my animals to a holistic vet because the vet that we've been going to for almost 40 years as a family has been bought up by private equity, and it's impacting the care, it's impacting the prices, it's impacting just the staff as a whole. It's impacting everything. You're seeing that in real estate, private equity buying up real estate. So there is a huge shift to more one-on-one and small business structures, and that is going to actually pick up momentum. We're starting to see a little bit of that right now, but over the next couple of years we're going to really start to see that because the masses are really going to be um, using their own money as forms of protest. And again, we're already starting to see that. There will be laws, shifts in laws that are meant to break up monopolies. I don't feel like this is going to be in the near future. I don't feel like this is going to be um, over the next year, but over the course of this Uranus and Gemini transit, we're going to start to see laws enacted that are breaking up monopolies and these private equity firms because there is a return to mutual aid and community that there's going to be no more too big to fail. No more too big to fail. That is being stripped away. I'm also getting called that we got a glimpse of this many, many years ago. Within the past decade, we did get a glimpse of this. And it's seeded, that glimpse was the seeding within our collective consciousness of what is possible. So now it's about making it a collective reality. And again, the more people who focus on, excuse me, the more people who focus on the reality that we want and who act in the reality that you prefer, for example, supporting small businesses, shifting your business to support those who are family owned or small business or local, that is going to have a huge impact um, and have a ripple effect, have a momentum, pick up on forward momentum and forward motion. So again, over the past couple of years, um, those ideas were seeded and planted, and even if it didn't come to full fruition, it's still housed within the collective consciousness. Um, don't negate, I'm hearing, the seeding. Don't negate the seeding. It can be very easy, especially for those of us who are awakened, who have gone through our ascension journey, to want to see that change right here, right now. But don't negate the importance of what it means to plant that seed, because this is not just an instantaneous journey. We are here to lead others. We are here for future generations. And so we could want to experience that change, yes, and start to see the results of that change, yes. But also don't negate just the seeding of the idea, because that seed changes nothing without that seed. So, as eager as we might be to see these systems dismantled, to see collective change, to see societal changes as well, cultural changes, especially with regards to the toxic patriarchy that is impacting all of us, men and women, masculine and feminine energies. It impacts us all in a toxic way. While we might want to be very eager in anticipation of that change, again, nurture the seed. Nurture the seed, because you're not just nurturing it for your own life, but for future generations. With this transit, again, this transit is the seed itself. With this transit, people are going to be speaking out. But again, with Saturn and Aries, this is aligned with action. So it's not just communication, it's not just speaking out verbally, it is also taking decisive action. It goes beyond the protests. This is everyday people running for local seats and school boards. Even if you don't have the experience, it's not about career politicians anymore. It's not even about politicians. It's about people wanting to make a change in their community and even in the country as a whole, but starts with community. Keep your circle small is a message that we have been getting for many, many years. And keeping your circle small doesn't mean isolating yourself, doesn't mean ignoring what's happening in the world. It means focusing on what you can control. Focusing on what you can impact is a better way of saying that, because we're not in control of other people. We're not in control of our experiences or the environment. We're in control of ourselves. So focusing on what you can impact. Again, leading by example within your own circles, within your own communities. It's not about, what you say. It's about the energy you're embodying. It's not do as I say. It's what do I do? What am I doing? Showing how it's done, how to lead with love, how to lead from integrity, how to lead with self-respect, and how to demand respect from others because you're valuing yourself. So, everyday people running for school boards and local seats, no more career politicians. There's also going to be an influx in mutual aid and community support efforts. So mutual aid is going to take a front seat now to community efforts. We had channeled in one of the year ahead readings, I think it was either last year or the year before, community gardens are going to be big. And what I had actually seen was nonprofits buying up pieces of land, not to be developed for housing. That is just going to be, in the private equity, mill that keeps that wheel turning. No, this is about buying up land, not only for safe harbors, what I'm hearing, protecting the land, but also for community gardens. So more community gardens, especially where there are food deserts, like in cities and urban centers. Community gardens are going to start taking center stage, but it's coming from nonprofits. So this is a collective, or will be a collective effort, a community effort. This doesn't feel like this is like, a group of people that are at the top that are running this nonprofit. This feels like it's a community effort, and that's why nonprofits are gonna be part of this, so that it's like the shareholders are the people. In this instance, the shareholders are the people, very much like how credit unions run. How the shareholders are, and not the board of directors, are the ones that are dictating, the terms and the rates and things like that. It's very much like that. That's why it's going to be not a corporation, but nonprofits that are going to be running these community gardens and establishing these community gardens, because it's going to be for the people and by the people, especially in urban centers. This is essentially what they showed me was capitalism holding hands with nonprofits for a new kind of democracy. This is a new kind of democracy that's being birthed. Right now, we have a very capitalistic structure in our society that is kind of reaching a pinnacle. And pure capitalism is no longer working, because it's only working for the few, not for the all. And remember, we're all interconnected. We all have a role to play. We all have a part to share. So this is, again, capitalism working with nonprofits for a new kind of democracy. And we are going to be channeling more on this as we move into this year, as we move into years ahead. We'll be talking a lot more about that and what that might look like, because I've been getting some downloads and insight into what that might actually look like. Finally, communication channels will be changing. So, where there were these quick hits for social media, like, the 7 seconds or less, right, to capture your attention, there's a craving for depth, no longer in the shallow end. And this is also that Neptune in Aries shift. Moving out of Neptune and Pisces, all that glitters is gold, the shiny, influencer standpoint. Now it's about people who are craving more connection, one-on-one connection, but also more community connection with depth. So no longer is it going to be that short-term content being churned out to feed the algorithm, to feed an insatiable appetite, is what I'm hearing, because it's truly an insatiable appetite where people are actually burning out from that, because it's like its own entity, really. Social media has become its own entity. Egregore, I think, is what it's called, where you're just feeding it constantly. No longer depth and long form content are going to start taking root again, because intellectualism is going to start taking hold again. There had been a pendulum shift where intellectualism was seen as something to frown upon, or something to be insulted, in favor of more digestible content, I guess you could say. But now we're going to be shifting more towards intellectualism. This is a renaissance that we're going to be experiencing, a really big shift energetically. We'll speak on more about that, um, again, over the course of this year ahead. But there is going to be like a new renaissance of some sort with regards to communication, with regards to intellectualism. Um, with that being said, there's going to be an influx in independence. And what I mean by that is independent journalism, independent artists, independent entertainment. So, where there were gatekeepers, and I have experienced this as an indie author for my novels and all my books, actually. Um, I've experienced this myself, where there are we call it the top five publishers, the big five publishers, but there's gatekeepers, right? There are those who, stand at the threshold, choosing what gets to be published and not. But over the past 15 years, as self-publishing and independent publishing has taken a foothold, people are recognizing that there are not certain arbiters for quality, that people can take things into their own hands. You see this with musicians, with indie artists producing amazing music that might not get all that mainstream notoriety, but will get, what do they call it? Like the cult followings, right? Like they'll have their groups. Um, and build upon that. Independent journalism is also going to be really important, because, again, stepping away from corporate journalism, which is fixed with propaganda, and more into independent journalism and bringing the facts, just the facts. So, no more gatekeeping when it comes to journalism, entertainment, and artistry. Um, this, again, is seeing through the illusion. This is disclosure, where you're not beholden to certain paradigms, certain structures. This is a paradigm shift. We're also might be seeing, and some of you might be experiencing this as well, I'm getting called to this, a shift from digital culture to analog culture. Some of this is coming because there's a certain amount of nostalgia, especially for elder millennials, Gen X, beyond. There is a desire for more analog features. And so I'm actually myself finding some technology that bridges, vintage looking items with modern technology, which is pretty cool. But getting more into analog technology, I actually just saw a video of parents who, instead of giving their kids and her friends, like an iPhone, a mobile phone, they installed a landline in their home. And now the kids are calling their friends. They have a whole circle of friends who did this, are calling their friends on their landline. So there is a return to nostalgia. or I should say, a return to the analog life, um, because of that nostalgia. But what is the energy? Again, what's the undercurrent of that energy? What is that nostalgia calling us to? It's not just a simpler way of life, but it is, again, more depth, more intellectualism, more critical thinking, more discernment. Rather than somebody choosing for us, is about us having autonomy and sovereignty and choosing for ourselves. So less reliance on digital media, less reliance on social media, and more reliance or connection with one on one and community. Big changes coming up. So, overall, there is a lot of healing. And we talk a lot about twin flames and sacred partners, sacred unions on my channel, because that's the pathway through which I was activated to my ascension journey. And so, my journey has evolved through that pathway, and that's how the lens through which I teach. If you relate to that, and even if you don't, if you relate to that, what we went through as twin flames or sacred partners on this sacred union journey, what we went through on this ascension journey as a whole, again, we're beginning to see society experience. We're seeing this happen globally, collectively. But this doesn't mean doom and gloom. And that's where I really want you to be mindful of your energy and where you're putting your focus. Yes, there might be challenging times ahead. We don't deny that. We don't bypass that. We don't avoid that. We become aware of it. And through your awareness, you are able to then anchor into your energy, integrate that piece so that that can have a ripple effect. Hold the light, be the light. We've been channeling that since before the pandemic in our unity channelings. Hold the light, be the light. Hold the light and be the light for others, because this is what we're here for. This is why we've gone through our ascension journey essentially first. There are many different, paths and levels and layers of our ascension journey, but for the greater collective, for the global collective, the world that is going through their ascension, many of us who have already been through that can recognize it. And so we have the tools and the resources to thus assist. But again, it's not all doom and gloom. There is also a lot of abundance to be found, luck, prosperity. You create your reality. Don't negate your joy. Don't refuse your joy. You are meant to be joyful. There's also a lot of playful energy that's coming through. You can still be abundant in this time. It's all about your mindset. It's all about you being attuned again to soul and self. I have a fabulous workshop that we channeled called Abundance Architecture that's available in our Ascension Connections portal that I highly recommend if you are ready for that next level frequency of abundance, not just financially, but also within your life, to shift your mindset, to shift yourself, to shift your life. The final transit that I want to talk about is Jupiter in Leo. This is occurring from June 29th, 2026, this summer, to July 25th, 2027. So this transit is going to last a year. Whatever Jupiter reaches, whatever it touches, it expands. Jupiter is the planet of abundance, luck, expansion, prosperity, but expansion. Jupiter can be very dramatic, or I should say, Jupiter in Leo can be very dramatic, because Leo can be very dramatic. So this could be windfalls. This could be big, bold love or expressions of love. This could be big, bold expressions of self. This could be lots of generosity if you're in a state of overflow. It could be overflow so that you are being more generous. You have more of a desire to support and help others, and you also have more of a capacity to help and support others. This could be in the form of, your own individual life, your own energy, where you're able to hold space for others at greater capacity. You have more of an emotional attunement, emotional intelligence, emotional connection, understanding. Your capacity, your emotional capacity has expanded. Or this could be in the form of mutual aid, advocacy, activism, donations, etc. But again, it is an expanded energy. It's also very creative and playful. So again, feed your joy. Feed your joy. Even if there are challenges as difficult as the world feels right now, It needs your creativity. It needs your joy, because that is how we collectively shift. That is part of the ripple effect. Something to be aware of is that Leo can be egotistical in its lower frequencies. So be mindful, allow yourself to be humbled. Again, step out of your comfort zone, learn how to release that control. Allow yourself to learn. Allow yourself to learn. This also indicates visibility, and that means no more playing it small. Remember, Jupiter is expansive. Finally, the lunar nodes are also flipping from Aries and Libra into Leo and Aquarius. So this is shifting from the individual to community and asking us, what are your collective contributions? It's no longer just about me and mine. It's no longer about our individual journeys. It's also about how are we collectively contributing? How are we being of service to others? How are we redefining our purpose and acting in our purpose? This is very goal-oriented, but mission-oriented, more so than goal-oriented. Mission and service-oriented. It's asking us to pay attention to community again. So again, shifting from the individual healing, which is what we've been experiencing, and more to collective and community oriented service. And we will have more on this in these upcoming cosmic support channelings here in this 2026 year ahead. So I wanted to recap all of our cosmic support channelings from 2025 while adding to it, because again, we got the preview and the sneak peek in 2025, but here is where it moves direct. And this is where we're going to start to see those seeds that were planted begin to really integrate, to really anchor in, and to manifest both within ourselves and our energy and how we are experiencing our individual ascension, but also in what is playing out collectively and manifesting in our physical experiences, both within our individual lives and on a whole when it comes to the world and current events. So again, nothing is without purpose. Everything is interconnected, including and especially our ascension journey. So we are going to do a quick year ahead reading. We're going to look at the 4 quarters of 2026 and see what may be coming down the pipeline, and make sure that you are continuing to check out our sacred channelings, our cosmic support channelings, and much more to help guide you and help you navigate your individual journey and your soul path. Sending you lots of love and light. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, and welcome back. This is going to be our 2026 collective year ahead reading. Now, this is looking at our highest timeline based on the present current collective energies. Remember that we all have the ability to shift timelines, and the more of us who are focused on healing and growth and evolving, the more of us who are focused on peace and unity and our interconnectedness, the more we are able to shift the collective timeline as well. For those of you who are interested, we have our Sacred Circle community, which is a place where we gather together each month. We're going to be picking back up on that in March to really anchor in higher timelines, higher frequencies of unity, consciousness, and that oneness. It's a place for us to come together with prayers, intentions for your own individual life. We'll channel some collective ascension energies and do a group meditation, whatever it is that wants to come through. But it is a place for us to gather together with intention for the anchoring in the highest frequency. So this is looking at, again, the collective energies in that highest timeline. Let's see where we have been right now, current energies, where we have been 2025, heading here into 2026. We're still a little bit in that old energy, moving into the Lunar New Year in a couple of weeks. Let's see, what is it that we need to know right now for the global collective energies? What do we need to know right now for the global collective energies? What is it that we need to know right now for the global collective energies? We have the second chakra, Archangel Ariel. We have patience, which is divine unfolding. That that's the energy that I just keep getting. Divine unfolding, trusting the divine unfolding. It's not so much about patience as in waiting. It is about trusting in how things are unfolding, but also recognizing our power to create. Again, it's within our power, both individually within our own lives. You create and manifest your life, but also the more of us who are anchoring those higher frequencies, integrating that healing work, which has a ripple effect, the more we're able to shift timelines. And you might actually be feeling these timeline shifts, not just with the astrological shifts, but just in the energy itself. I recently read something that it only takes like something like 3% of a collective, 3% of a people to make a huge energetic shift and change. And again, the more of us who are integrating those higher frequencies of peace and love over fear and division, the more we are ushering in the unfolding of that collective change. Second chakra is the sacral chakra. That is where we create. That is where we manifest. And so, what is the energy that you are holding there? Are you holding fear when it comes to your creations? Or are you holding faith? Are you holding love? Are you holding the sacredness of your spiritual life? And what they mean by that is, are you recognizing your own sacredness, your individual sacredness? And thus, are you recognizing the sacredness of those around you, including other people, including the planet as a whole? Are you recognizing the sacredness? One more card, please. One more card. And we have hostilities, yeah. So this hostilities is indicating the hostilities that we're experiencing collectively on the planet with division, with that chaos erupting is the phrase that they're giving me. But again, it's trusting in the unfolding, trusting what you yourself are creating, and really connecting with the energy that you're holding. This is where your ascension journey is really important. Your individual ascension journey. This is where taking accountability for your energy, taking accountability for your thoughts, your mindsets, the beliefs that you're holding. This is where you do the deep dives. This is where you do the identity work. What are my beliefs? What is my energy? It's about really facing yourself. Again, this is the crucible of your becoming. And the crucible can be uncomfortable, but that is only where change happens, by facing ourselves. Change only happens when we allow ourselves to face ourselves. I think it was Brene Brown, I bring this up a lot. I think it was Brene Brown who said that it's only when you're tired of your own bullshit that you're willing to actually make a change and go through a transformation. And I feel like this is, on a whole, the planet has been so fed up with these hostilities, so fed up with this division, so fed up with the me versus them. But where collectively are we still holding on to the belief of me versus them? The pattern of me versus them, even subconsciously. The more we are aware of it, it's not about punishing or blaming ourselves, but the more we are aware of it, the more we can make that change. Are we subconsciously holding on to a me versus them mentality, or are we collectively in the we? Now, this does not mean that you are not also your individual unique self as an I. You are the I am. You are your unique thread. But as an analogy that we've channeled many years ago, you're a unique thread in the tapestry of creation, where everybody is a unique aspect of source. And together we make up the whole tapestry of creation. Everyone matters. You matter. Your neighbor matters. Everyone plays their part. And so, are you still in an energy of us versus them? Or are you recognizing the soul? That doesn't mean you have to engage if somebody's being toxic, in your individual life or as a collective. You don't have to engage with toxic groups, for example. But can you see beyond? That is the higher consciousness teaching. That is the middle path, the middle way. Can you see beyond? Can you see the undercurrent of energy that's playing out here? Can you see that every soul is playing its part for the greater change, for the collective change? does not mean excusing behavior. It just means being aware. Being aware. Anything else we need to know for current energies here? Indecision. This is telling me that collectively we are at choice points, and there's going to be many of these choice points coming up, is what they're saying, moving into the future. So not just this year ahead, but in further years ahead. These are choice points, and the choice point is not necessarily something that is tangible, not something that is physical. It is energetic. It's a choice point for who do we want to be, a choice point for what do we want to believe in, a choice point for what are our values as a society, what is our moral responsibility and obligation as a society. These are our choice points. And the more we are individually attuned, the more we are collectively making that choice. We can stay in the cave. We can stay in ignorance. We can keep our head under the covers, under the proverbial rug. Or we can step into truth, step into light, and step into love. That is one of the choice points. And what's coming up is coming up collectively for our awareness to be brought to the surface. And yes, it is painful. Yes, collectively as a society, it can be painful to see our flaws, our mistakes. But so too is it shining a light on who we can become. So just like our individual ascension journeys, it is, again, the crucible of your becoming. You are going into the depths of yourself, into the shadow of yourself. What we're experiencing now as a collective in our society is the collective shadow work being done. And there is a lot of shadow, and there is a lot of pain within that shadow because of the generations that this has continued. But we are shining a light on that now, shining a light on both the shadow to be brought to our awareness so that we can collectively heal and shift, but also shining a light on what is good. Don't forget what is also good. What I'm seeing in the world is a lot of hostility, is a lot of chaos, and it just grinds my gears, gets my goat. I don't know what the saying is. It just gets me riled up because it sparks the Libra in me, the Aries moon in me, but the Libra sun in me, which is all about justice. I have always been an advocate and activist for the innocent, for the downtrodden, for the voiceless. That has always been at the center of my moral center, is speaking up for those who cannot have a voice, and standing up against injustice, whether it is to humans, whether it's to animals, whether it's to the land and the planet as a whole. And it just really grinds my gears when I see so much pain being inflicted. And I do what I can to minimize that pain, either in my own life, in other people's lives, or, as a whole. So that's activism. We are meant to be taking action. We're not meant to be taking a passive step back. But what I'm also seeing is the love, is the unity, is the coming together, neighbors helping neighbors, mutual aid, community efforts, and myself taking part in that in any small way that I can. That's why we have our community connections page available on our website. That's why I do fundraiser readings for my personal readings. It's my small way of being able to give back. You give back in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be monetary charitable contributions. It can be, for example, this year I bought some backpacks at the thrift store and filled them up with toys and goodies for kids who are living in more impoverished conditions, who might not have been able to celebrate such a joyful holiday season. Just something small that I was guided to do. For others, it is taking in homeless pets. For others, it is protests and speaking up and being on the front lines for those who, again, can't speak for themselves or against injustice. For others, it is, financial contributions. For others, it is sitting down with a student, with a child, and teaching them to read. Having a conversation with them when perhaps they're lacking that at home. Showing people that they're loved. You show up in more ways than you can imagine, Spirit says, and it matters. It matters. It matters that you show up in the ways that you're called. Don't compare yourself to other people and what other people are doing. You go where you're guided. Take that action. Go where you're guided because it still matters. It matters because you are tuned into the frequency of love. You're not passive. You're not ignoring what is happening. In your awareness, you are helping when you can. And that is part of the turning point that we're experiencing. People helping where they can. It's Fred Rogers, won't you be my neighbor? It is, look for the helpers, and people are helping in a number of different ways. There are the Buddhist monks walking from Texas to Washington, D.C. in an effort to showcase and highlight peace. It's a walk for peace. And it is incredible because they're actually facing opposition. There are actually people who are, slinging slurs at them and yelling at them in opposition of their walk for peace. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Monks walking for peace, just simply walking and spreading messages of love, peace, and joy. You do what you can. You do what you're guided to do because it all adds up in the long run. We might not be able to see all the threads and how they all come together in this tapestry, but sure enough, it matters and you matter. All right. Yep, the world at the bottom of the deck. All right, so let's see. We're going to do a spread like I do for my personal year ahead readings that looks like a clock. We're going to start with the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and then we're going to see what might be challenging us and what might be filling us with blessings this year. And all along the way, we're going to get lots and lots of guidance. So sit back, get yourself a cup of tea, and let's see what's going on for the first quarter this year. First quarter for collective 2026, please. First quarter for the collective 2026. We have the Ace of Cups, we have the Six of Pentacles, and we have the Queen of Fire. Fire energy is that Aries energy, Sagittarius, Leo as well, but I'm referring to the Neptune in Aries and the Saturn in Aries. Again, lots of momentum, lots of fire energy this year with the fire horse, lots of action with Aries. And there's planets in Aries. This is indicating to me that where your attention goes is what is going to be created. So if your attention is towards more harmony, peace, balance, and you are actively creating that within your life, again, taking that guided action, leading by example, that is what's going to be created. This Ace of Cups is about filling up our cups so that we're not neglecting ourselves. This is our collective energy of embodiment so that we are not burning ourselves out by overgiving, over-sacrificing. We're also allowing ourselves to receive support when necessary. And that's going to be the balance this year. The balance is going to be allowing yourself to step up in collaboration and cooperation, in community effort and support, while also allowing yourself to receive that support when needed. This is no longer a time of the individual. This is no longer about isolation. And our ascension journey is no longer about going off into the woods and isolating yourself in order to become more spiritual and enlightened. Your true spiritual path is about how are you embodying that in your everyday life. When you're at the grocery store, when you are at the dinner table with family over the holidays, when you are in conflict with your relationships, that is a true testament of your spiritual nature because it's who you are embodying, the wisdom that you are embodying. So it's not just about over giving and over sacrificing anymore. It's not about just being of service to others. It's also about, or just being service to self. It's about the balance of both, allowing yourself to receive so that you're filled up, so that you can continue to give. So I feel like there is going to be more community support, community effort, and there is going to be a highlight of your own ascension as well. Where are you being called to step up and lead within your own circles? What's going on for the second quarter? We have the Emperor, which is that divine masculine energy. This is also the foundation. As I teach, the Emperor is all about safety, security. It's those lower three chakras, right? It's that grounded energy. This is embodiment. Are you grounding this energy? Are you building that foundation? Are you building a structure that is not a false safety container, but a true foundation of safety and security within? Where you are, when I mean safety and security within, I mean where you are feeling safe and secure to express yourself, to be yourself. You're not looking to other people for validation. You're not looking to society to complete you. You are trusting in yourself. Let's see what else is coming through. The Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is an energy of being wary because you faced a lot of battles, but you don't give up. This is a spiritual warrior, and that's why it's so important to have that foundation underneath you. That foundation of spiritual wisdom, that foundation of spiritual tools and resources, and most importantly, I'm hearing that foundation of your connection to yourself and your soul. The more connected you are to yourself and your soul, the less you're able to be influenced by society or outside influences, because you have that discernment, you have that awareness. And so even though you might feel wary from what's going on in the world, it doesn't pull you from yourself. It doesn't take you from yourself. It doesn't drain your energy. You're fighting another day. You are standing up, continuing to stand up. You're continuing to activate or be an advocate, be an activist, again, in the way that you feel called to. And when I say activist, I'm not just talking about, you know, being at protests. There are other forms of activism. When I say activism, I mean being an active participant in your own life and in the world around you. That's true activism. Being an active participant, not being passive, not saying, oh, love and light, and just bypassing and being avoidant. This is true being an active participant in your life and in the world around you. So with the Nine of Wands here, I feel like there is, might feel a little bit drained, but this is also about renewing your resources, renewing your energy, because you have the resources, the foundation, the tools beneath you. What else do we need to know? The Star. The Star is in and of itself a healing energy. After the tower falls, there's the Star. The Star is, again, healing. Also like a mending energy, like from the breakthrough, anything that had crumbled, there's a rebuilding that happens. That's what the Star is indicating to me. Rebuilding on a new foundation. So as we begin to see things crumble, for example, some of the society structures that have been implemented, and when I say structures, I'm talking establishments. I'm talking, we have, medical establishments, educational establishments, insurance establishments, that's what I mean, society structures that, might have benefited the few, but don't benefit the all. That is beginning to crumble. That's the systemic change that we are beginning to see. And as those towers fall, there is a renewal that is happening. So I feel like we might feel a bit burned out, especially because it's hitting us like this. Like there is so much change, there is so much chaos that's being yielded and actually used as forms of distraction now. there's so much chaos that we might feel a bit burned out. But again, because we have that foundation, because we're connected to ourselves and each other, there is a healing that is possible. There is a renewing energy that is possible here. Okay, so turn to community for support. This is that healing that comes from community support as well. Tell me what we need to know for third quarter, please. Third quarter. July, August, September, collectively, 2026. Third quarter. We have the Empress. Interesting. So here we have the foundation that's built. And here we have the Empress, which is giving birth to a new. So we might begin to see something new taking shape, something new taking form. But it is not from the old distortions anymore. It's not from the old toxic energy. The Empress and the Emperor are that higher frequency. The Empress is somebody who is intuitive. It is in essence matriarchal. And when I say matriarchal, I mean it is that intuitive guidance. It is that leading from the soul, because both masculine and feminines are leaders in their own way. This is the healer warrior template that we've been channeling for many years now. The healer warrior. You are both. You are both. And so this is about, yes, having that healing energy, but also that warrior energy. And bringing that into balance is where you are stepping into that wholeness. The Empress is giving birth to the new. So we might see new seeds being planted for what do we want that to look like? What do we want that to look like? New ideas coming to the forefront. Again, this is where Uranus and Gemini is really going to create a shift. So we might be seeing announcements of new innovations, new technology, new social media, but again, not in a corrupt standpoint, not in a toxic standpoint, not to benefit the few. This is to benefit the all. New social media platforms, new communication platforms, or maybe new leaders rising to the surface. This is that Uranus and Gemini being birthed into physical form. Three of Water. Yep, Three of Water is all about community. The focus is on community. And the Queen of Air, that is all about higher wisdom coming down. And so again, being communicated, higher wisdom being communicated. So as we are listening to speakers and leaders and mentors, etc., having that discernment, who is speaking from embodied wisdom and experience, and who is speaking from, again, the false facades and the illusions. We're breaking through those illusions here. So I feel like by the third quarter this summer, collectively, in current events, if we're speaking in current events, things might reach an apex. There's going to be a huge turning point here where the illusion is going to crumble, that House of Cards is truly going to fall. Or I should say the last remnants of the House of Cards, the illusion is going to crumble, because truth is going to take greater shape here. Truth is going to take greater shape. And what I mean by truth is higher truth, higher wisdom. Higher truth and higher wisdom. Let's see what's going on for the fourth quarter. Let's see what's going on for the fourth quarter, please. Fourth quarter for 2026. We have Justice. Yep. That might be playing out very literally in our world. We also have the Two of Air. Okay, it can go either way. It's going to be up to us as a collective what justice means to us and how karma is going to play itself out. That's part of how we are collectively creating. It can go one of two ways is what I'm seeing. By the end of the year, which for the United States, that's where we have our midterm elections, right? So at the end of the year, it can go either way. We're still creating, and we create by the present moment. We're still creating future timelines. It can go either way. It can go more of the same, more of the old cycles repeating itself, or it could be real change that is created. So I do feel like there's this justice energy, like there's this karmic retribution energy, but we have to be mindful and use discernment that justice does not mean justice by way of the old means. This is a new paradigm. This is a new template that we're creating from. Higher wisdom, more love. So We have to make sure that we're not repeating the old paradigm in new ways, okay? How do I say this? So, for example, if you're voting, making sure that you're not voting based on party lines, but based on, again, true leadership, embodied leadership. Because party lines are the old way. That's the divisionary. That's the illusion, right? So, making sure that you are voting according to trusting your discernment, leadership by example. Now, that being said, that's going to play itself out here in this year ahead first. So it's not, I'm just using that as an example. It's going to begin to play itself out more here in the beginning of the year, moving into the rest of the year. This is just an example of what I mean by not getting yourself caught up, or ourselves caught up in the same cycle by another name. It's that phrase from Romeo and Juliet, is a rose still a rose by any other name? Is justice still justice if you're just repeating the same cycle but calling it something else or making it look like something else, right? Are we going to collectively move into a higher frequency, new templates, or are we going to just claim that we are? This is the illusion. That's the spiritual, that's like the spiritual ego, the performative. That's what I'm trying to say here. Is this just performative justice, or is it going to be true justice in that higher template, that higher paradigm of higher wisdom? Or is it just going to be performative? It's going to look like justice, but not be true justice. That's the tipping point. That's the deciding point. That's where we have that choice point. And it's going to come down to all of us who are we going to truly just continue to perform spirituality? Or are we going to truly embody this shift? Ace of Earth, we have a chance to choose a different path, a higher path now, and not just repeat the same old, same old. We have a chance collectively to shift the paradigm, to shift the template, by shifting the energy. Ace of Earth, Ace of Pentacles is abundant. We have the choice to move into an abundant new timeline, an abundant new energy, an abundant new world. But that comes from us not repeating the same cycles and just calling it by a different name. That's the consciousness trap. It's just the matrix by another name. You've heard me talk about the twin flame matrix. You know, the twin flame matrix is still the matrix, just by another name, because we're getting caught up in, focusing on the romance of the connection or the relationship of the connection, when it's so far beyond that. You shift your connection with your sacred partner by shifting the energy, not by anything outside of yourself. So is this going to be the same old? Or is this going to be entering in a new paradigm by shifting the energy within? All right. What is challenging us collectively for 2026? What is challenging us collectively? Surrender low self-esteem. And what I'm getting from this is, it says you deserve success, love, and abundance. Set an intention to identify and release any remnants of low self-esteem, any remnants of giving over your authority to other people or other ideas or other systems or, other influences, expectations, anything outside of yourself. This is about, one of the challenges of your ascension journey is about connecting so fully within yourself, loving yourself, honoring yourself so much that you are not giving your power away. When we speak of self-abandonment, that's giving your power away. When we speak about having boundaries, it's about reclaiming that energy. Boundaries are not meant to build walls. Boundaries are meant to set the standards for how you want to be treated and how you recognize yourself and value yourself. So when we're talking about self-esteem here, it's not self-esteem, it's self-sovereignty. It is connection to self. It is how you value yourself, how you see yourself. It is about how you empower yourself. And the more people who are stepping into the embodiment of that self-empowerment, the more everything changes collectively. What are the blessings for 2026? Surrender outdated ideas about yourself and beliefs about yourself. Let go of limiting ideas about yourself that originate from the past. Then you can own your power and soar in your life. So this is, again, where everything changes. This is where the shift within yourself happens, and this is where the shift within the collective begins to happen, because you're no longer giving your energy and your influence over to other people. This is true self-mastery. The more that you are connected to yourself, the more you're connected to the universe. The more you're connected to your brothers and sisters, the more you're connected to the planet. That has the most profound ripple effect. That changes everything. This is what creates the great change. We're going to get a final card of guidance. Final card of guidance for 2026. 2026. The collective guidance for 2026. Collective guidance for 2026. Wisdom. Listen to the wisdom of your soul. Listen to the inner voice. Trust your intuition. Trust yourself. That is what your ascension journey is for. And the more you're doing that, the more that has a ripple effect on healing and the evolution and growth of everything and everyone around you. And that's what changes the world. That's what changes the world. Change and illumination at the bottom of the decks, and transformation. All right, I have lost my voice, so we are going to end this here. I am going to come back with a brand new mid-mark year ahead channeling. So in the summertime, around June, July, I'm going to do another reading just like this, more in depth perhaps, to kind of see where we are and how we can collectively continue to navigate the year ahead, the years ahead, and continue to create, positive changes and really shift the template, shift the paradigm, shift ourselves and shift our world. So we'll do a mid-year check-in and see what is coming in with another reading here in the next couple of months. I'm sending you all so much love, so much light. Let me know in the comments how you enjoy this or how you resonate with this. And stay tuned to the channel for more sacred channelings, collective readings, and much, much more.